I don't know what it is about Avengers Endgame. And I want to talk about some stuff in this video, but this has got to be some of the stupidest takes I've ever seen on this.
Pathetic earthlings. Who can save you now?
Rush! Savior of the universe! Strange object imaged in the Imperial vortex.
Okay, so there's been a lot of clapback on Avengers Endgame from some of the usual suspects, such as the Mary Sue, who they wrote a whole opinion piece about why a talking raccoon is taken more seriously than Whammon by male MCU fans. So I'm not going to read this whole... I could do a whole video on this alone, but I'm not going to. Here's the gist of this article, which is a huge joke. I don't know how the Mary Sue stays in business, but this entire article, they're mad literally because male fans like Rocket Raccoon more than they like Captain Marvel. So that's a serious take. And I felt that the Spider-Man clip was very appropriate for that. Haven't used it in a while, but it worked for that one very well, I think. But this is ridiculous. So there's so many people mad about this movie, and I don't get it because there was a lot of things in that movie that you think that they would have been happy about. Let's not forget about the incredibly woke scene where a bunch of female Marvel characters come together for no good reason other than they're all whammon, and they help Captain Marvel move the Infinity Gauntlet. It felt so out of place. Like, oh, why did they just all randomly leave their various points in the battlefield because like Captain Marvel threw up a big like female symbol sign and needed their help, like a bat signal? It just didn't make any sense. That's the problem with doing like the A-Force movie they want to do, where it's going to be just all of the female characters. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. How can that work? Like, what happens? So where's War Machine? Where's, all the other characters? Are they just, taking the day off? The ladies got this. It's weird. It doesn't make any sense. You can make it work in a comic book, I guess. That comic book never does particularly well, I think, for those reasons, because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But, there was a lot of things in that movie that you think a lot of these crazy people on Twitter would be happy with, particularly aging up Captain America and passing the shield on to the Falcon. You think that they would have jumped for joy for that. I thought that was very tastefully done. I liked the movie overall. I don't think I did a review on it, but sorry, spoilers, right? But I would assume by now you've seen it. I think the time for putting a cap on spoilers has kind of passed. It's been weeks. But anyway, people are freaking out about Hawkeye now. This guy, actually, his take isn't too bad, but you're going to see like where this conversation goes that really kind of just takes the cake. This has got to be one of the craziest looks I've seen yet for how people are seeing Endgame. But let's go ahead and get into woke Twitter and what they have to say about all of this. All right, so it all starts right here with this guy who, he doesn't have a terrible point, actually. It's the responses to his thread. So you can actually see 40K hearts, 8.3K retweets, and 328 comments. So his tweet went viral, and he said, "Can we please talk about how everyone just kind of let Hawkeye get away with 5 years of being a serial killer? Like, I know he missed his kids, but he brutally butchered large groups of people as a form of stress relief." Now, that's actually a fairly comparable take. I don't really have a problem with this take. I think that, I actually got to agree with it. He went and murdered all kinds of people. And even in the movie, I'm like, whoa, it's kind of dark here for Hawkeye. And the other characters even kind of had a problem with it. And he says here, this blew up. Also to all he's killing criminals. It's implied that he's mutilating them. And arbitrarily deciding who gets to live is injustice. He's taking people out, sure, not good people, but still people. I'm going to also point out that the movie itself considers Clint's actions wrong. When referring to his murders, there is an ominous, horrific tone. It's because they're setting him up to get taken out the cliff, and then he doesn't. I actually think, to be honest, that this guy made a pretty good point in this thread. I don't have a problem with what he had to say here. I think he makes pretty good points. Clint, it would have worked better if he had been the one to go down at the for the Soul Stone. I would have rather, honestly, Black Widow lived. I like her more. And I'm not saying I don't like Hawkeye, but Scarlett Johansson, I'd rather had her stick around, to be honest. So I think he makes a good point. The characters weren't happy with it. I particularly remember the scene with War Machine where he's like, some of the things that I'm hearing, I don't know if I want to find him and stuff. So, it's not his point that's bad. It's these points that are stupid. So in runs this guy. He said, as an Asian American living in Japan, I was especially angry about it and the lack of criticism it got in intersectional circles. I wrote about it. And his article goes on to call him the white savior. And let's go ahead and talk about these tweets. Has anyone written about irritating it is that Redacted went off and murdered a bunch of POC in other countries when there's plenty wrong in America for Redacted to deal with? Probably talking about Trump. Here we go again. Most accurate representation, ex-Special Forces guy who has no real value takes his anger out on POC, but hey, tattoos and a dumb haircut. Only thing missing is sunglasses. Stupid. Here we go again. No spoilers, but in the trailers, he just takes out his anger about the snap on only POC and how people online are falling over his new look. Worse other than white adjacent WOC. It's explicitly pointed out that he goes around murdering Mexican and Japanese criminals. He literally says they don't belong here. They don't belong here. The whole point is that he's angry that good people like his family, Spider-Man and such, they all got snapped away, while criminals, cartel and Yakuza are running around while good people aren't there. Then we get this one. The MCU has continually treated POC as props, particular Asians. What they did in Endgame is over the damn line. How the hell are you gonna have an Asian character and an actor of that caliber just as he uses a tool for a white man to vent his rage on?
You went full retard, man. Never go full retard.
Now, what's sad about this is Caroline actually makes a good point in her first tweet where she says, no one cared about what he did and that it's terrible and Natasha sacrificed herself. I actually agree with her that, no one seemed to care about what he did. They all let it go. Like, he gets to go and just be with his family at the end. Like, the whole point is you're heroes, but there's lines you're not supposed to cross, blah, blah, blah. Hawkeye is kind of a little bit of an edgy character. But the point is that it was implied that he was mutilating, criminals, and he was taking justice into his own hands. That's not what heroes are supposed to do. I agree with that. And then she goes full on tard mode down in here where she talks about how, he's pretty much the devil. That I disagree with fully. That's such a stupid take. And it keeps going on. This whole thread is actually really interesting and just how crazy these people are over it. But they literally go on and talk about how the Triple K or they should have been in there and all this stuff. It's just so weird. That's not what people are going to the movie to see. They want to be entertained. Hawkeye was a little crazy in that movie, no doubt. Robinson's initial thread where he was talking about how they didn't really deal with this properly and stuff, and he was set up. It would have been a much more redeeming thing to see him sacrifice himself to get his family back. And then, Natasha could have settled down and just like helped take care of them and be like an aunt. Like, I think that would have been a really redeeming arc for him. But, instead of discussing that, a flaw, it's got to be, oh, it's racist. I got your white guy taking out Yakuza. It's stupid. These people, man. There's never an end to content to talk about with stuff like this. When you go from he's pretty much the devil, the white devil, or people being mad because a raccoon is more liked than Captain Marvel, there's always plenty to talk about when it comes to stupidity in the world and entertainment. It's almost kind of sad, but it's also kind of funny to watch the fire roast in that old hot dumpster. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. I love to read comments on stuff like this because it's really, really just, I don't know, entertaining, weird. Of course, you have stuff like this. Look at this. It's so stupid. Anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate every view, all of you coming and watching my stuff. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Make sure those things are still hit. And check out the links in the description. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.